Our first thing is an update from Mr. Alexander.
Okay, so a couple different things to share with you. Just quickly, some basic statistics. You may or may not have seen some of this in the newspaper, but building should be completely drywalled at this time. Last week when we were out there, they just had a stack of 2 sets of drywall about 5 feet high that they needed to put up, and that was it. So they were excited about that, we were excited about that. So by now, I'm guessing all that's up. Paint, first coats of paint have gone on in the preschool, and first coats of paint are now probably on all the way across on the top floor. So that means then they'll start coming back from the west end and working on the bottom floor on putting on the first coat of paint, so that's cool. The exterior built of the building, we've talked about punch lists, which means the architects and the contractors, we go around the outside of the building and make sure everything's the way it's supposed to be and do the punch list to close out on that. So that's probably easier on the outside when it's not 25 below zero. So those discussions have started, but we haven't, we've been putting it off due to weather. Level 2 cabinets are here and being installed. Level 1 cabinets arrived February 15th. 75% of the building, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. Rough-in is complete throughout the entire building. So that's good because that means that they're getting closer to being ready for the electrical panel, which is good news. There was good news on that today, we think. And then planning for February 26th for a tour for the Board of Education. We'll probably ask the ESU board if they want to join us on that. In time, we're not sure yet, but we'll work with you on deciding when that'll be. But that was about as early as Houseman thought would work to get you in. So we'll send out an email and keep you informed on all that. Second thing, just to give you a little bit of a glimpse, Missy put together this January update that we're sending out. It'll be going out to the PK5 tonight. We've committed to doing this once a month, kind of sending them an update of what's going on. So there's various information here and then pictures involved. I'll send you the electronic version of this too, but I just thought tonight, since you were going to be here, I'd share it with you. So lots of cool things going on in regards to the building. In terms of furniture, I just wanted to update you a little bit on that, where we've been. We've now met with School Specialty a total of 3 days, so 2 full days. They came right as school was starting up second semester. They were back this Monday, and we've reviewed recommendations from them. The first 2 steps of the process are done now. We've reviewed their recommendations that they kind of had for us on the basis of what we submitted for an RFP. Now we've gone through every single room as of Tuesday this week. Yeah, Monday or Tuesday. We went through every single room and it's outfitted. So with the furniture that we want in every single room. So now what happens is they go back and they cross-reference everything and make renderings of every single room. And when those renderings come back, then we'll put them in front of you to show you what the plan is. And the good news is everything's under budget. So that's good news as well. So hopefully in the next 2 weeks we'll have renderings for you, which will be just another step. The cornerstone. So as you recall, we talked about this a while back in the first semester. I've got the cornerstone that the Masons put in is the picture of what they have planned is in front of you, and then you can see what's out at the high school already. That's the color picture that's out there. It was installed when the new high school was built. So this is what is planned to be put in the elementary right now. The ceremony for that is set for July 27th at 1 p.m. Should last about an hour. So again, we'll send you all this information. But basically what happens is the Grand Lodge will be there, which will probably be 10 to 12 Masons from right here in Beatrice. And then they invite members from across the state, and they anticipate another 10 to 12 local Masons will be there. But we'll open that up to the public, and we probably won't let the entire public tour the building, but they'll be able to see right in there where the Grand Mason, where the cornerstone is, which is right inside the new commons area, right next to the gym, so they'll be able to see that. But because we don't want traffic all over the new carpet necessarily, that's why we probably won't let everybody tour the building at that time. We will probably bring this, pick the cornerstone to you, once we make sure we'll have one more conversation with, Mr. Petrosky that's helping us with it, make sure that's what it's gonna be, but we'll probably bring it to you for approval in February, at the February board meeting, so that it's all ready to roll. Okay?
Along those lines, are there plans for a time capsule?
We've kicked it around, we haven't really set any plans, but we've talked about it. That would be a cool thing to do.
One of the things that, as being in the buildings,
Are there any time capsules of the current elementaries? that we can
Yes. that would be something to look at.
I was not there for that.
Right.
I know, you all look at
I
me.
don't know if that was a thing. I'm not sure that was a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some really cool things within those buildings as we've been looking at.
I think they have for other new construction in the community. I don't know if the hospital did, but I think the library did.
High school did.
High school did, and yeah.
But they had one too. I'm surprised the elementaries don't.
There might
have
be under the bells.
They might be.
Hidden.
They might be.
Yep.
Bells.
The bells that are out front,
Yeah.
or the flagpoles that are out front, too. Yeah. We'll do some research.
Yeah. Good question. So if, again, February 26th is kind of the date that we're setting to take you guys on a tour, and we'll just be in communication with everyone about time frame around that. We'll probably try and send out a new poll to see what works best. All right. Should we move on?
Yep, now we're going to policy 4110, salary guides and regulation and advancement on salary schedule, Mr. Alexander.
Okay, I'm gonna speak very briefly on this, and then I'm gonna let Janet fill in any blanks. So, policy 4110.1, and then administrative regulation 4110.1, advancement on the salary schedule, kind of outline what the Board of Education policy has been, in regards to when we hire new staff, what we can and can't do in regards to their salary and placement of them on the salary schedule. Both negotiations teams, and when I say both, I mean the Board of Education negotiations team and the teacher negotiations team, as they worked through the negotiations process this year, talked about what's going on across the state with schools and the factor of experience on the salary schedule. So, in short, our salary, our process, our policy is a bit archaic with what's happening now, especially with the teacher shortage. It's probably the best term I can think of to use. Essentially what that means is most districts now are allowing teachers to bring in all of their years of experience when they change schools or when they move from job to job when they're hired. So essentially, if we were hiring a teacher that had 20 years of experience in the past, we may have only allowed 5 of those years of experience in, and that's where they would go on the salary schedule. But now, and in order to be competitive, the teachers and the negotiations team have talked about allowing all those years of experience. So, Janet?
Yeah, this came up during negotiations. It was brought to us by BEA. And when we looked at the schools in our array, Beatrice has the 5 years. And then the next closest one would be Plattsmouth and half the years of past experience. Ralston had 12. Wahoo had 7, and everybody else had 50 years of experience, that they could bring all their experience in. I don't even know that you need to put 50 years. I think you just say something like they can bring all their years of experience in. But one of the reasons that the teachers brought that is because, in order for us to be competitive, and you know, you have to look at BEA, none of them are getting any benefit from it. They were looking at how can we hire teachers, because it really ties the hands of administrators to not be able to give that full years of experience and get the best qualified teacher. And again, with the competitiveness, I think we have to really look at, let's bring in all the years of experience. Under the current policy, it does allow the superintendent to place a new teacher wherever they want to, but it really then becomes,
Kind of
is
subjective.
this, and is this a more important position than this? So, I was really pleased that they brought it, you know, when we first were talking about it, they, I said, you know, it's not anywhere in the contract, and then as I got to looking, it was in policy. But I really would like to see us change that, just to make hiring better for our administrators and getting the best teachers that we can.
Yeah, when I heard about it, I was surprised it even existed. I figured, you know, as a teacher, you're a teacher, whether you're coming in with, you know, you should get those years of experience. If you taught at, you know, Norris or wherever, and you're coming to Beatrice, and you taught there for 10 years, why would you not also get that experience, you know, credit for coming to Beatrice? I would not disagree one bit that we need to change this.
I was just having a little sidebar with Doris. I personally think we should take the number out. I agree with, that was what I was telling Doris. How do we arrive at this 50? Personally, I would just like to say any and all, or any years of experience at a prior accredited, you know, prior years experience at an accredited school system. Why would we put 50 in there? Do you really want somebody that's 74 coming here? I didn't say that, Christina. Yeah, I mean, you know what I'm saying. To me, when you assign something a number, well, all of a sudden, what if you have somebody that comes in with 51? So to me, I think it should say any prior years of experience.
Yes.
That's just my thought.
Well, is there a point on the salary schedule where it doesn't max out?
You do.
anyway?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do max out, so it really,
So this is a question, if someone retires from a district and then comes here, do we give them all the years of experience?
Why would you not?
I just asking.
I don't know that we've ever had that scenario happen
We have it right now.
with Dennis.
Uh-huh.
Yes, he's placed on the same spot that he was on the salary schedule.
Okay, I was just curious.
But I would say in that situation, I don't know why you wouldn't give them, you know,
Yeah.
Well, and quite honestly, I don't want to have teachers who only have 5 years of experience and below. We need to have a better
Correct.
blend
Yeah.
of new teachers and experienced
Right.
teachers.
and I think I think this is a kind of a carrot for experienced teachers, if they know that they're gonna carry that experience with them, rather than having to start over.
Yeah.
And again, it would be new hires,
Right.
not anything with the existing
Yeah.
staff.
This sounds good. Did you have any idea what the impact would be with how many people it might affect?
I guess you would have to see who's gonna retire
Right.
or leave, you know, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
However many openings you have.
Yeah.
But I think there'll
I
be
mean,
more
really,
movement.
Right.
It stifled movement before, you know, but this will
Sure.
encourage movement, which is, you know, good.
So what we will probably do is, in the policy itself, in the administrative regulation, we'll strike that line that says ordinarily no entry level will be granted in excess of actual experience. And then we'll change that from 5 years to including all years of prior experience in an accredited school system. And obviously, this will go through a couple readings, but we'll have it to you for your approval in the next couple meetings.
do you have to be specific on the policy as, you know, and I don't know if this counts, but if I'm a para and I get my teaching certificate, you only want to count years of actual teaching, right, versus total years.
That's what I would
Yeah.
think.
Yeah,
So I don't know if it needs to be that specific or if it really kind of outlines that.
it wouldn't be a bad idea to put teaching experience, yeah. Just,
Or as a
Certified.
certified,
Yeah.
teacher.
Yeah, and that's a good idea.
that's a great idea, great suggestion, just for clarity, just so there's no ambiguity.
Cause we've had that, we've had paras that have got their teachers certificates and moved on. Which isn't a bad thing either, but.
Right in line with that, then the next policy that you should have is, would be what we would call it, would be a new policy. We've never done this before, but essentially, one of the other things that's happening is the discussion around tuition reimbursement. And there's various different avenues that this is starting to take shape with, but where we see it right now, probably most beneficial to Beatrice Public Schools, and it could evolve in the coming years, but as a starting point, there are times when we have looked at teachers and we have said, can you go back, if we hire you, would you be willing to go back and get an endorsement in this area? So we can A, hire you, and B, eventually you get that endorsement, and we don't get a ding, as we refer to it as, from the Department of Education for a teacher outside of their endorsed area. So essentially, what we're asking for is adoption of this new policy that would give us the ability to reimburse a teacher that we go to and ask to get a different endorsement, to be able to reimburse their tuition expenses. Now, there are some stipulations, as you see, and this has been run through legal counsel, just so you know, but there are some stipulations that the teacher has to pass with a certain grade level, and they have to provide us the statements, and we pay for the tuition itself, but then there's also some commitment back to the school in terms of how many years they have to remain, or they have to reimburse us back that tuition.
And we just take it out of their last paycheck, I assume.
Yeah, we could, yeah.
I think another thing too that, maybe legal, or maybe the accountants, I think it counts as compensation to the teacher as well, if we pay that. Or it could,
It could.
and so then I think they need to be taxed on it, but that's probably an accountant question.
Yeah, and, yeah, it
It does
is.
for us when we do it, so.
Okay. I think, yeah, I'll have to work with Jackie B. Some of it depends on the language, if it's a stipend as compared to reimbursement, so I will ask her. That's a great point.
And that's just straight tuition, not fees?
Right. Yep.
Is that all?
That's all.
Now we're gonna talk about the 2024-2025 calendar, Dr. Morgan. Okay, that was very quick, so now we're gonna get into the calendar, and, I'm gonna let Missy talk first.
Because this will be a precursor into kind of the calendar development and why we did what we did.
So, in all of our spare time, we're looking at different things and ways that we can support our teachers in coming to the new building. Part of the new building is making a schedule that helps for all kids. So, the first thing I wanna look at is the proposed schedule for the Beatrice Elementary, the one without the grids. I'm looking at the day-to-day schedule for our elementary. We know that there's many feelings about different things that happen in the elementary building. And we also have heard from teachers that said they want collaboration, they need time, and we know we added an art teacher, so we wanted to do that. Our proposal for our new schedule is to have a 6-day rotation. So right now, we run on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday schedule. We're gonna run on a 6-day schedule. So, no difference, you just have to know what day it is when you come to school. Is it a day 1, a day 5, a day 6? There will be posters, there will be whatever, nothing huge. In doing that, kids will have music, PE and health, guidance, library, and art. This will afford, and we're still playing with how this looks, but within doing that, kids would have PE at least 3 times in that 6 times, music at least 3 times, guidance twice, library either once or twice or a larger block, and art either once or twice or a larger block. We're playing with our staffing and what works best for our kids and our students, but we can make all of that work. We could actually make the P and music go up more, but it would probably kill off our teachers and we don't wanna do that. So we need to support everyone in doing this. Would we love to have PE every day? Absolutely we would, but we also have to have this new tool and see how we're gonna do this to give breaks and whatever. In doing this, having a 6-day rotation, every teacher is going to have 1 hour of plan every single day. And in doing that, with that 1 hour plan, it's gonna say, like, this is not set in stone, but this is the idea. Day 1, your grade level team is gonna meet with SPED and title. It's collaborative, we're doing what's best for kids, these kids need this, so you can talk through that. Day 2 is your plan on yourself. Go do your thing, you do you. Day 3 would be a PLC within their level, on their hour grade level. We're looking at data, we're seeing where kids are, and we're going from there. Day 4 is another plan, you be you. Day 5 would be a common plan, so they're bringing all their materials together as a team and saying, okay, I'm gonna teach, we're teaching math this way, we're doing this today, and day 6 would be a plan. So, lots of time for teachers and lots of time for collaboration. Super pumped about that. The other thing is we're gonna do win time, is what I need. So we know that we have 5th graders that maybe are reading at a 2nd grade level, or 1st graders that maybe are doing math at a 4th grade level. So that what I need time is looking at kids' skills and being able to break them out through the entire building of, okay, this is a 5th grade math group, who needs to go there? This is enrichment, these kids are soaring, go, you do your thing. And the building allows us to do that as well. So you may have, in our innovation center upstairs, during this wind time, you have kids that know where they're going. You're going up to the innovation center and you can fly, go build a robot, you know, whatever, and hopefully have support doing that. So that's allowed across the board, everyone, we just flood it with every teacher, every para in there during that time. The start of our day would start as the character education. We know how important that is for kids, and also class meetings, to start with our own kids in our own building. And we want to start with clubs at the beginning of the day to get kids excited to come to school. So, in doing the schedule, this is kind of the proposed schedule for our new elementary kids. Do you guys have questions about this?
No, it sounds interesting, yeah.
It's super exciting, it's different. Again, we have a new building, a new tool. I'm a little bit excited about it, because I think we can do some really fun things with, Doris, your face, what's your thoughts?
I really like the win where you can, like you said, kids that need help are gonna, you know, go with those specific. Kids that are, you know, advanced, they can go work on 5th grade math or whatever that may be. I like that idea. I think that'll be good.
And we have subcommittees already going on these things. This is how people are doing it. And having teachers help plan it helps them. This is their building. It's not my building, it's not Jason's building, it's not your building, it's our building. We're here and we want this the best for all of our kids, so.
Who came up with the 6th day?
Mr. Jansen and I were sitting here and we were just looking, and I'd never planned a school schedule before, but the planning time was very important to me, and we were just looking at it, and I'm like, why do we have to do 5? When I worked in Crete, we did an A-B schedule, and so I'm like, okay, if we pop in 6, there's 6 sections, and so it just like really worked out really. We were pretty excited about it. Yeah. It's different, it's changed, we could do it. So, there's that. And then the second part was, at our last meeting when we brought all the teachers together in December, someone goes, do you realize how much time we need at the beginning of the year in order to go over policies, procedures, curriculum, just even fire drills, tornado drills? And we're like, yeah, we do, but until we really sat down and looked at how you scheduled all that out. So, my lovely friends over here to my left said, Missy, try to figure this out. So, this is very rough, and I know we're gonna have lots more coming. Like, we just looked at a curriculum series, and they're like, oh, we would like 6 hours, then another 3 hours. Holy cow. But we also have to look at, we want sneak peeks for the community, we want sneak peeks for families, we want people to be able to drive through. This is how we expect you to pick up your kids. You know, this is what we do for these things. Fire drills, tornado drills, all those things we need to do dry runs with staff before we get kids in the building. So this is kind of the proposal of the time in which we would have those beginning days, which are more than we've had before. But it's also taking out some stuff that we do at the beginning and we'll have to allocate those throughout. So is this set in stone? Absolutely not. Are there more things? I am absolutely sure there are, because every day we get a few more things and you go like, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? So,
I appreciate the thought process of being creative, thinking outside the box. New building, let's make changes, which I think sometimes is hard for people, but I like the idea of making changes, and this is the time to do it.
it is, and it's super exciting. Scary, a lot of work, but super exciting. And I think people are getting very excited about it.
I like that.
What questions do you have about that?
I just wanna say thank you for all the work you've put in. And I'm thankful that you still refer to us as friends.
That was very sarcastic. It's,
Cause we have asked a lot of you, you have done an amazing job.
thank you. It's a fun opportunity. I've never built a house or did anything, and just today someone goes, it's like building a house. I'm like, no, it's not, because a house, you have like 2 to 5 people, and we have like 900 people that everyone has their opinion on it. And Tuesday after the furniture, I went home and I was just a crab. I'm like, why? And I was like, because we've had how many decisions did we make Tuesday?
Unbelievable,
And,
yeah.
but what's cool is people are putting kids first and thinking about what's best for kids and not necessarily with teachers. And so we have to remember that as we go through this, is how can we best serve kids?
This is great. Look forward to taking it home with me and just kind of looking it through more carefully.
Well, if you think of some things that we need to add, put them in there, because,
I might.
just think about the fire drill. We've never had a 2-story building for a fire drill. So what's the procedure of getting kids in a wheelchair down for a fire drill? We need to do a dry run of that and practice that, and
Mhm.
we'll get there.
And there's literally, I mean, we're saying 1 million, but there's probably 2 million things that we're trying to think of so we don't miss anything. And that's really the key factor is, there are people every day that come up and say, well, how are we doing this? And you're like, great, thank you. We will think through that, and we just add it to this list to be able to make sure that everybody, we're gonna try not to miss anything.
And we will, and to know that we'll go back and we'll fix it. I think people are starting, like kindergarten roundup. There's no reason to do kindergarten roundup when we usually do it in May. And so we need to talk to parents, and instead maybe we're gonna have a kindergarten meeting, because parents still need to know you need to get your physical, you need to get the eyes, you need to know what's expected as a kindergarten parent. But we can't have roundup, there's no sense of having roundup in the old buildings, you know? So just, all those things we have definitely been laying in bed sleepless thinking about and thinking how it's best for everyone, so it's not, so the procedures are out there, the expectations are out there, and it's gonna be a great environment for everybody. So,
Yeah, what do you do with that kindergarten? I mean, do you almost, you try to use like this building and maybe have.
So, in my head, we go to Have Alone and have a meeting, and have like maybe a movie that shows kind of what kindergarten is, and then have like the school nurse talk, have some of the teachers talk, and so just have the parents on a neutral spot, and then have roundup, like, proposed on that first Friday, and have kids come for a little bit, so, but then the teachers have to have their room ready, and when you have those kids in the building, everything else is going on, so. But luckily, that's on first floor, so it's, you kind of be out of the traffic zone of things a little bit. I'm definitely coming on February 26th, if I'm invited or not.
You're invited.
What day is it, though?
That is a Monday.
Oh, it's a Monday, okay.
And guess
okay.
what? It's Nebraska Frameworks visit, so you may not be coming.
Oh, we might have to think about
Yeah,
that.
it
We might have to
is.
think about it.
As
Sorry,
long as there's no basement.
it's accreditation.
When we talked to the construction team, that was just the day we picked, but we can
Yeah.
adjust it a day.
So I'm sure,
Cross that out.
Uh-huh,
Yeah.
yeah, sorry.
Cross February 26th off, yes?
Sorry about that.
lots of exciting things, especially with the calendar. I think it will give the teachers the ability to do more with kids and with the more inclusive practices and procedures for that time, so. And we would be able to go to school 5 days a week from beginning to end and no early releases.
Yes.
So that leads right into the calendar, so we talk about change.
I had to say it, sorry.
But yeah, you.
Can I
did
just say
say
here,
it?
do I have to move?
No,
on?
you're fine.
Okay, I'm just gonna answer.
So, let's talk about change, because as you look at this calendar, you do notice quite a few things that have changed. One of the first things that I want to say though is we have spent quite a bit of time working with the administrative team, with the teachers, with the first student, with board members as we created this calendar. So our goal was to get a lot of different perspectives, and it has been nice because we've been able to gain that. Those perspectives from all of the different groups that we have worked with. And there are some things that have been brought up as to, well, can we think about this? And absolutely we can think about that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start at the beginning of the year, and then we're going to go through the calendar as it progresses. As you look, the first, where we start always with our new teachers. One of the things that we're going to look at differently this year is also bringing new teachers back for only 3 days. Normally we do 4. One of the things we want to do is push them into July to do all their paperwork and get them trained with some of the technology. The nice thing is that that allows Jackie Bornemeyer to have their paperwork early and to make sure we get it before the year begins. So, it probably would also allow one of the other pieces that we talked about, I know this came, I think, from negotiations, is really looking at our brand new teachers and giving them the option to all teachers. So if you're a first year teacher, you're coming straight out of college and you probably had a summer job, but guess what? Once school starts, August 2nd, you don't get paid until September 20th. So what our new teachers can opt, we will create a form, is they can opt for the option to take and split their paycheck, their September 20th paycheck, over 2 months. So we will pay you August 20th, this half, and then we'll pay you September 20th, this half. It would be a nice gesture, because we know that there are times that when I would have meetings with new teachers or with teachers and a new teacher was there, I'd always be willing, I'd just give them the food that was left over, because I knew that there was probably very little left in their budget. So we want to make sure that we are looking at how to help them. And again, we're going to offer it to all, so it's not a stigma. Everyone has the opportunity. So then as we look at the first days, we have 4 professional development days with staff, and we have something really cool planned for the 12th. We will bring you in on that as the time gets closer. But as you go over to that middle column, so the first day of school will be only 6th and 9th grade. We will bring back 6th and 9th grade. Those are 2 classes where they need that time alone, just to get acclimated to the building. Then on the 14th, and that will continue to be a half day, on the 14th, we will bring back 6 through 12 will come for a full day. On the 15th, this will be the start of the K through 5. And we did that because we know that K through 5, as Missy has presented, needs extra time. And so they need that extra support. We are providing that extra support. And then preschool would start on the 19th, which would allow preschool teachers to make sure that they meet that requirement of home visits while they're acclimating to the building, but then we also allow them time to meet the requirement of home visits, because that needs to happen. So then as we move through, notice that the yellow days have gone away. So the yellow days, usually Wednesdays, we have the early dismissal. What we are looking at is adding that time back onto the calendar, so removing the early dismissal, but providing 5 days, and those are the dark blue, 5 days throughout the year when it's at the right time of collaboration time, at the right time of teacher work time. So the 28th, why do we choose August 28th? Well, we chose it because we've given assessments at the beginning of the year, and it's nice for teachers to come back together to really go through and talk about where our students at, and then where's our goal. So where are they at, where's our goal, how are we going to get them there throughout the full year? September 18th gives them time to check back in right before parent-teacher conferences and allows them to be ready. One of the other things that we have going on this year, because you know we're all about change, it might be a lot, but we are navigating it and kind of having fun navigating it. Our parent-teacher conferences, we may be looking at those differently. And we might not be looking, our PK through 5 might stay very similar, because our percent of attendance is very high. It's 95 to 100% attendance rate. But when we get to 6 through 12, sixth grade is still pretty good with 50-60%, but all of a sudden by that 9th through 12th grade, you're talking probably 20%. Okay, something, we've got to think differently. And so we have a group of teachers that have been coming together and meeting to really start thinking differently about maybe PK through 5 looks like this, but 6-12 looks like this. So it's been fun to explore, and they're still working on that. That's still a work in progress. They didn't want the dates to change yet. That may be a next year type of adventure. But they wanted to really think about the structure. And so that's what we're working on, is the structure and trying to look at those ideas. We'll bring that back later. As you move on, so in October, we have our professional development day. November, we have an early release day, and then December, we have a professional development day. So there is time embedded within the schedule to provide that teacher collaboration and support time. January, February, you see very similar. There are professional development days. March and April, we do add in the early release days. And then April 21st, one of the things that we do as we look at April 21st, that could be a potential makeup for a snow day. That is a day on the calendar that it's the day that usually falls right after that Easter holiday. So that is a day that we could utilize as a makeup day if needed for snow. And then the last day of school would be May 16th, and graduation would occur on May 11th. So that is the calendar. The other part, I'm gonna go quickly to minutes and time before we talk, because this is the other piece that comes into play when we are looking at our calendar and when we're looking at the 3 buildings. One of the things that we know is, and that has been a concern, is out at the high school and the new elementary, the new PK5 building, traffic cannot happen simultaneously. So we've got to work on the schedule and making sure that the traffic flow and that we don't have our 16-year-olds zooming in with our parents. Because I know the high school parking lot, if you've been in it, it's quite an interesting adventure. So here is what we are looking at. We are looking at preschool, elementary, starting at 8:05 or 8:10, and then we are looking at our middle school, high school, starting at 8:30. One of the things that this also does is if you research and you look at the adolescent brain, when you look at middle school, high schoolers, their brain starts much later than a 4-year-old. They can wake up and they're ready to go, but when you get to be that 14 and you're staying up later at night, your brain's not turning on as quickly. So that is the one thing that this does allow to, is it pushes it back to where, I don't know if your brain's not working either yet, but. Yeah.
It's really
I'm
coming in
thinking,
late today, right?
I must be a teenager.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So then, this also though allows transportation, and we've worked very closely with transportation on this piece. This allows transportation to make different runs, so that our little kids are not necessarily with our big kids. So that is one of the other things that we have looked at, and that's why we talked to First Student about this, is what's feasible, what can we do, what do we have to do to make sure that we navigate transportation and do it well. Because our goal is to have the discipline issues on the bus very few, and if we get kids on the bus and off the bus, it helps tremendously. And so we have some major pickup spots that we're also strategically planning those to be one of our last spots and also one of our first drop-off spots. So like Little Giggles, we know that we have a large number of kids that get on at Little Giggles. They will be our last to be picked up, and they will be to get to school, and then they will be our first to be dropped off before they even go to middle school, high school. So those are things we are working with, and we will have bus routes probably March 15th tentatively, and then we'll be able to adjust before that May enrollment time. So there's a lot of moving parts, but the one thing is, so Missy talked about the PK5 teacher collaboration time. So let's talk middle school, high school. Middle school, high school, it was interesting when we had our teacher meeting, we had, I brought this up, and in my head, I always think that we can do things maybe bigger than we can. I like to say, let's go. And, I need someone to kind of bring me down a little bit at times. So, I had a teacher look at me and say, Jackie, okay, if you are going to look at us and tell us that 2 times a week, we have to collaborate with our group. Tell me when we're going to have IEP meetings, 504 meetings, SAT meetings. Tell me when I'm going to do duty. Who's going to do duty? Are we gonna bring paras in early, or what are we going to do? So it was great to have those conversations. And then the other thing is, you know, if you tell us twice and all of a sudden we just can't because all these meetings are popping up, then things might just go by the wayside. And we don't want that, because teacher collaboration is important for student success. So what we are looking at, that was one of the suggestions that was brought by the teacher, is to bring back those 5 days. Can we have those on top of our professional development days? Can we have those 5 early release days? Because then that will allow us time to continue. Plus, it would be a nice compromise to allow that teacher collaboration, but also the working with the community, and looking at how we can make the schedule better for all individuals. Okay, so there's minutes there that tell you, we do exceed the state requirement by quite a few days, which is a good thing. So that is there, so if we do have another winter like we've already seen, we do have some flexibility within our time, which is nice. Okay, questions?
I have a question,
Yes.
and I sent the article to both you
Yep.
and Jason this morning about LPS doing away with their early dismissals for PLC time. But one of the statements that they made is this will change how teachers meet their required hours of professional learning. Currently, teachers must attend enough sessions either during the summer or in the evenings after school to meet the required 7 hours. If the agreement is approved, teachers would be able to meet this requirement during the new professional learning days. Does that statement hold true for our teachers as well?
Yeah, and we use professional, our early, like our Wednesdays are all part of that time that we utilize right now. With the extra time that we have added in those Wednesdays, we will meet the hours required.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I just wondered if that same
Yes.
theory held true for our
It
teachers.
sounds to me too, I read that same article, they're doing something very similar to this, where they're moving to just a few days
Mhm.
of the early release.
Yeah,
I think they copied us.
yeah, I think they did too.
Did you send the
Then you
calendar
were-
to
I think the one thing that, you know, again, I'm looking at the start and end, and so I like, you know, at least a little bit more time in August. I know it's very similar to kind of when we're starting now, but maybe just a couple days later, but ending on that May 16th, I like that date. I think that'll be more in line with other districts in the area.
My comments are probably similar to Eric's. I'm not opposed to anything that Missy, relayed earlier. I'm not opposed to anything that was relayed during this conversation. But again, my notes are at the very beginning and at the very end, because I was elected by the people, and I will tell you, the 2 biggest complaints I hear is we start too early because of summer activities. And that's not necessarily always meaning sporting activities. We now have FFA that has a very active chapter in our high school. Guess what? The Gage County Fair is July 24th through the 28th. That is 4 days prior to our teachers returning to class. What I hear is that does not give families enough time, if their kids are involved in those summer activities, to get in a family vacation. And for the parents that do not want to pull their kids out during school to take a vacation, I think those 2 weeks at the beginning of August are very important for family time. So I agree with Eric's comment in regard to a later start date. I would like us to see it, push it at minimum to the 15th, 16th. I think, like I said, that is one of the biggest comments I hear from the people that speak to me about the calendar. The other thing is, at the tail end of the calendar, it's probably not a big deal for elementary or middle school kids, because they really don't have to see graduation happening. But for our high school students that know graduation has already occurred, I will tell you, it's a tough road to hoe to try to explain to parents why their kids are still going to school after we've held graduation. So I would propose we start later and finish after graduation. Moving graduation, either we start, we would start, we would finish before graduation. I would propose we move graduation in 25 to the 18th.
18th.
Correct.
Yeah, well, the terms right now, if you look at the quarters, the semester ends in end of December. So I remember growing up and we always had a week or so in January where we're finishing up, and that might have an impact here.
Well, and I understand we try to keep our days for each semester kind of similar, and, but I'm just relaying what the electorate that I speak to says. And I feel I have a duty and an obligation to relay those comments.
It's
Because
funny.
that time was always important to me when my kids were busy in the summer. Because we were very limited to, we didn't want them to miss their activities, you're paying for it, you've got money invested in it, and so you're like, okay, well, when do you wanna take vacation? Do you wanna take it the first or the second week of August?
And then May 11th and 25 that's back to Mother's Day.
Right, that is correct.
It will be.
So my proposal was, I don't care about the 15th, 16th dismissal date, but I would propose if we start later in the year, then we can move graduation probably later. Maybe there are minor adjustments, but I guess I'm more concerned about the start date. Other than that, I'm good.
Honestly, I guess I'm not disagreeing with Lisa, but are there very many schools that graduate, schools out in graduation? It seems to me like most graduations happen and there's still some school. I don't know, I'm just.
That's probably been something that has probably been, as of late, it used to never happen. It used to be you were out and then, not the seniors, because the seniors always get out early,
Yeah.
but.
I know the one thing that we'll hear in doing that is the band will be too difficult to get back on those kids on the 18th. But
The what?
the band that plays Pomp and Circumstance.
I don't ever remember, I
It's
always
always been
remember
a-
having more school after.
Yeah.
I don't ever
Really?
remember Beatrice not having
Yeah.
some school after graduation,
Yeah.
A few days, probably for finals, and that was it.
Yeah, we would have a few days. I think, I think we will also hear from, I know teachers were very concerned about having a little bit of time once you come back from Christmas, because you really lose that momentum to come back. We used to come back for like maybe a week and that was finals. Well, we all know that not a lot of studying happened over the Christmas break, but I don't know, that was very important to, I don't know if it is anymore, it used to be very important to teachers that you finish before Christmas, and then you kind of get started again, and and they will also say, it's easy to say, well, just make first semester a little bit shorter, but when you're asking people to teach a certain amount, they need the same number of days to teach that, so I don't know, it's a
Yeah,
difficult
I think
deal.
my
But we've
only,
also added days in there that we have not had in the past either. In the other months, we've added days off, maybe that we didn't have 10 or 15 years ago either. You know what I mean?
Like
So
the Wednesday
if we're gonna
night
start a
schedule.
little bit later, then maybe we go back and adjust some of those other days that, we've given.
And this year, if we had said you're going to come back after Christmas and do finals, they put in for a month. They just went back.
yeah,
So that would have been an awful long time in between.
I definitely prefer you're done before Christmas, everything's done, finals, everything, and you start fresh after that.
the only
Well-
concern I could see is if we look at that 15th, so that'd be 2 days, and then you would add 2 days on to second semester, is that would be 5 days, that would be the difference. And I will tell you, I know that from our semester teachers, we will hear about that, because that's a week of instruction, that they don't have first semester, that they would have second semester. So I think it's a, how do we figure that out if we do it? What other things can we do? Are there, I don't know. The other people I get in middle school, they do quarter classes still. And there are times that I hear from quarter teachers that I was not able to do this with this class, but I was able to do it with this class. So, and that's why we try to keep things as even as we possibly can. Now, we can't keep it perfect, we know that. But we try to, yeah,
Even what if you looked at the 8th?
just even the 14th, moving it back one day, is that what you're saying?
Well, if you even just looked at starting on the 8th,
Well, that'd be way earlier than,
That'd be way
that'd be a
better.
week earlier than what,
but I was just thinking, you know, is there a compromise in there somewhere?
that would kind of,
would work?
that would somewhat defeat what Lisa just brought up.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Because, and I do agree with her,
I do too.
because,
Mhm.
parents do not have time to take their kids on vacation, and I would rather say, let's start school 2 weeks later than have them take their kids out of school to go on vacation. Does that make sense? Not no Doris.
We only took our kids out of school once for vacation ever, and it was because it was a very special occasion, it wasn't ever gonna happen again, so, I mean, there's just also something to be said, like, it's when you price something with 99 cents instead of it's $24.99, it's not $25, it's all up here. I would much rather just have us not start before the middle of August, you know?
It was interesting the other day, I was getting my hair cut, and in the barber shop, the question was about, the end of school, because there's a family that has a vacation scheduled at the end of school, and she was asking me, how's that gonna work, and how's it gonna work with the new school, and I said, well, we're still working on that, but people, yeah, it's definitely people trying to squeeze in the last vacations in August, and then get vacations at the end of school before summer activities start up, because once summer activities start up, then they don't have any time to go.
I know you're gonna be shocked, but I'm really happy doing away with every Wednesday early outs. I know it's gonna be a huge surprise, but I'm really happy about that.
Well, I think when Missy talked, I think we need to look at what's best for kids. I think we have to keep in mind that not all children in our district have the opportunity to go on a family vacation. So I'm not sure that should be the driving force. If it's educationally sound, I think should be the driving force behind why we select a calendar. So I think we need to be careful about that as a reason. I think we need to,
And I don't necessarily mean a vacation to some beach somewhere. I think a lot of our parents just appreciate time together as a family, whether they're going to the park, or they're going fishing, or they're going camping, or I wasn't talking about, some expensive vacation. I think that the quality time that they actually get to spend as downtime without running, back and forth and attending events, that's hurry and scurry. I mean, are you really spending a lot of quality time together there? So I wasn't necessarily talking about, a beach vacation somewhere. I was thinking about just that maybe 2-week period of time where it's downtime.
well, I'm not either, but we also have to remember that some of our children don't get to do all those activities in the summer because some of them are expensive. So I'm not opposed to changing the calendar, but I think we need to change it so it's best for kids.
I'll rephrase what I said then, and I'll say, I think quality family time then, other than vacation.
We can't move up the Gage County Fair. I guess we can't approve that.
It used to be the first week of August. It has been moving up.
Yeah,
Any other things on the calendar?
I think that is it.
yeah. I just wonder why the snow day is yellow.
We've already visited
We've
about
already
that. Since we don't have anyone in the audience, I'm guessing. there
I'll
will
use
be-
that real quick, just so I'm within the legal bounds.
Oh, okay.
I did put a listing of bills that we're I will be sending this letter to Senator Dorn. There are a plethora more than what's on this list of bills that, will impact education. It's a 60-day session, so we're 15 days in after tomorrow. How many of these bills will make it to floor to be debated, how many of them will make it out of committee, we don't know. But there are, this week, there were already education bills that will impact, what we're doing. There are a couple really important ones, that deal with school finance, and so I'll keep you informed of those. And there's some on here that deal with those, but there's some that just came out last week in the final days of bill draft. So, if you have any questions, and I'll write you a more in-depth, note, but this was kind of a nice summation, and I'll send it to Senator Dorn expressing, some of our positions, from the stance, and I think they pretty much fit where we would be as a school as well.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.